was actually a little scared because I didn't know what to expect. Even though we planned the trip, something unexpected could happen. I've heard that at first glance Russians could be very cold and brutal, but when I arrived in Moscow, everything felt so different. Even when I was going through the border control, the police officers took it easy on me. I was feeling actually very comfortable. And when I heard people speaking in Russian for the first time, it was really funny because it sounded exactly the same way as what I've been studying for the past 8 or 9 months. So I was really familiar with what they were speaking and I wasn't shocked at all. It was pretty natural actually. Moscow was an amazing city. Everything. The Red Square, the Kremlin, the subway stations, the Bolshoi Theater, and much more. It was an amazing start. But while in Moscow, I was also very excited for the next destination, Novorossiysk. Novorossiysk. The memories are still fresh. I wish I spent way more time in this city. It was amazing. I remember I was so excited about this trip that the nights before the meeting I would have a really hard time trying to sleep because my brain was all about this city. It had everything to be a huge thing, and it was. I met my online friends back in late 2016 through First Legal League, a robotics international competition. They started to make conferences with a lot of Brazilian teams, and I got along with them quite easily and started to participate in another conferences with them and also on other Brazilian teams. I even got known as the best Matryoshka representative in Brazil, which was really cool. In the 2018 New Year, I started to take Russian learning seriously, and I would spend about 6 hours a day for about 2 weeks just for learning Russian. Then, of course, I burned out from that and I took a long break, and I came back in late 2018 when I found a Russian teacher. So now I consider myself an intermediate Russian speaker. Back to the meeting, I arrived in Anapa and was welcomed by Natalia, Mikhail, Polina, Diana, and Violeta. And me and the girls were talking through the whole trip back to Novorossiysk. So we got to know each other better and it was very cool, such a warm welcome. I was almost feeling home, to be honest. I also managed to speak some phrases in Russian and they seemed to like my accent, which made me very happy. And after they left me at the hotel, I started to get very excited for what was gonna happen next. So I wanted to make sure I was very well rested and that I was also looking good. In the evening, we walked around the Black Sea coast and had dinner at a nearby restaurant. And I tried Russian food for the first time, and it tasted really good. I liked it a lot. After the dinner, we went back to walking along the coast. We talked a lot and told many jokes. Some of them even in Russian, which I managed to understand better than in English sometimes for some reason. It was really fun. The next day was a long day. By the morning, I was taught some of the city's history and how they bravely defended against the Germans in the Second World War, also known for them as the Great Patriotic War. Their ancestors fought in a place known as Mala Zemlya, which means small land, consisted of only 30 square kilometers of the land they could fight. Such an interesting part of their history and definitely made me very intrigued. We also visited a museum about all the history of Novorossiysk, from the ancient to the modern, and it was very interesting to see how much history the city has. The next step was probably one of the most memorable ones, visiting their school. I've been in a place where they used to communicate with us 12,000 kilometers apart and witnessed with my own eyes their robots and projects.
We started working on this project last October.
The stage for our work are shown in our engineering notebooks. All the stages from programming to constructing in teleop and autonomous mode are shown in our two engineering notebooks as well.
So we have to...
There's also a museum inside their school, and Diana showed us all the events that the school participates and also the help they're offering to the Syrians, which I found really amazing. For lunch we went to Vika's house and her mom prepared some traditional Russian food, which I found really good, especially the desserts, which were very tasty. And after it, we rested for a while there, and I even made a new dog friend. And in our last evening, we went to the Abrau Jursa, which is a place near the Lake Abrau where a lot of wine is produced. In this meeting there were me, Diana, Nastia, her father, and also Violeta. And I could hardly believe that it was already our last meeting, so I made sure I enjoyed every single moment.
I think we are
And we arrived back at the hotel at around midnight, and it was already time to say goodbye. In the next morning, Natalia, Mikhail, Nastia and her parents brought me and my parents to the Tuapse station, which is located 3 hours from Novorossiysk. I was so impressed by their dedication to us, and I'm just so grateful for that, really. There are no words to describe how grateful I am and how everyone was so amazing. Everyone's efforts, everything, it was just amazing. And this video is just an attempt to thank everyone for everything. Спасибо большое за все. When I boarded the train to Sochi, I said goodbye to them once again, and when it departed, I started to feel very emotional, and I stayed like that for maybe 2 days, and in the first day it was for the whole day. So yeah, I want to thank you everyone. Thank you so much once again. In Sochi, we took a day off to rest since we were very tired from the activities in Novorossiysk, but that's actually good. It was one of the few moments in which I felt tired but extremely happy. When this happens, you know that it was worth it. Our view from the apartment was amazing, right in front of the Black Sea. During our stay, it was very windy and rainy, so going outside was quite a challenge. But we still managed to visit the Olympic Park and had a walk along the beaches. The next city is a city which every Russian loves and is very proud of. Peter. It's much easier to enjoy any place when you have friends that know about it, and that's the case of St. Petersburg. I walked day and white nights around the city, even under rain, and I didn't even get tired. Now I understand why this city is so much loved by the Russians, and I'm gonna tell you about it right now. Also known as the cultural center of Russia,
St. Petersburg is full of details and big constructions around the city. Even on the way to the apartment from the airport, we already saw so many beautiful things that gave us an amazing first sight of the city.
There is so much to enjoy from the city, and 2 days was definitely very little. But what we managed to see from the city was definitely amazing. From the canals that resemble Amsterdam and Venice up to the Hermitage Museum, this city has a lot to show to the world. The white nights phenomenon is also something really cool to see. Although I've seen it once in Stockholm, it's always nice to see it again. By the time I was in St. Petersburg, it would get darker at around 11 p.m. and it will get lighter very soon, like very early in the morning. St. Petersburg also has an amazing subway network. I took a few trains there and got me very impressed. I also went to the deepest station in the whole country, Admiralteyskaya. And this is the end of my journey in Russia. My stay there has been absolutely wonderful, and this country has completely overcame my expectations, and I definitely want to go back there in the future. After those wonderful days in Russia, me and my parents went to Kiev in Ukraine. I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit scared because of all that political situation between Russia and Ukraine, but it turned out it was completely fine.
The first thing I noticed in Kiev is that the streets in cities like Moscow and St. Petersburg are much cleaner, and in Kiev there are some cracked bricks around the walls. But it's still a very beautiful city, and it was very enjoyable despite of that. And it also counts with very friendly people.
The first day in Kiev was extremely exhausting. We walked around 15 kilometers. That was the same as St. Petersburg, but the difference is that it was extremely hot. It was about 29 degrees. In the end of the day, I couldn't even feel my feet, and I had sunburns in my neck, and I also hurt my leg. Well, I think that's enough for one day, right? Due to my leg being hurt in the first day, I had to rest most of the second day, but we still managed to take some subway trains, which were even deeper than those in St. Petersburg. And after leaving the train, we walked around the museum about Chernobyl. Poland is the land of my ancestors, and it was an honor to visit it. This country also marked the achievement of a huge milestone in my traveling life, being in 20 different countries. The first thing in Warsaw we did was already a challenge, and it was just reaching the apartment. But the thing is, we didn't receive any information about the apartment because something went wrong with the booking system. I have no idea. So we had to buy a SIM card and call our host. And this whole process took about 3 hours. Yeah. But after we reached the apartment, it felt very rewarding.
Warsaw has a wonderful center, and what's really cool about the city is that the old and new regions seem to merge into one big thing. So you can see the old buildings and the new ones in the same landscape. In Warsaw, there's also a tall old theme building, which was a gift from the Soviet Union to Poland.
And in the last evening of the trip, we tried some classic Polish food, pierogi. They are very similar to the Russian ones, walieniki, and also very similar to the Brazilian ones, especially the ones from my region, because here in my city there are many descendants of Polish. So it wasn't something completely new, but definitely worth trying. And this was the end of probably the best trip outside of Brazil so far, and I really enjoyed it, and I want to go back there and have even more experience, have even more fun. It will be great. I'm sure it will be great. And I want to dedicate the end of the video to my fellow Russian friends who dedicated their time and efforts to make my experience in Novorossiysk the best possible. Thank you so much. I can't be any more grateful. It was really amazing, and now I have a few words for those who wanted to meet me in Novorossiysk but couldn't make it because we're traveling or doing something else that didn't fit in our schedules. And I really wanted to meet you all, but I understand that it's impossible to fit everyone's in a single schedule. It's hard to make those matchings, right? But there are gonna be many more opportunities in the future. I definitely plan going back to Novorossiysk, and I want to make something even bigger because 2 days was too few, and I want to make maybe 1 week, 2 weeks. It will be really amazing. So yeah, see you around. I hope we still keep a lot of contact. It will be really amazing because we've been talking for a lot of time, and I still want to keep that. That's really cool. And yeah, that's it. See you around. And I think that's all I have to say for now. You guys can still contact me on Instagram, Twitter, whatever social media you prefer. I'm always very active on every social media, except I don't know if there's a social media I'm not active, but yeah, I'm very active online. So I may be look at this kitty. So yeah, I think that's it. Bye.